Amid the glimmering realm of classic Hollywood emerged a collection of formidable talents, each contributing to a narrative woven from both triumphs and personal battles. One such individual was Randolph Scott, a name synonymous with steadfast characters and sweeping landscapes. While often cast in the role of the stoic cowboy, Scott's subtle comedic flair revealed a multifaceted actor capable of drawing laughter, even from the most hardened viewers. His on-screen charisma was undeniable, captivating audiences through piercing gaze and an aura shaped by the ruggedness of the American West. Away from the spotlight, Scott chose a life of seclusion, resisting the fervent temptations of fame. However, layers of complexity veiled beneath this quiet exterior hinted at a different tale, one filled with untold secrets and hidden connections that would leave an indelible mark on those who believed they understood him completely. As the time comes to remember his legacy, the unexpected presence at his funeral unveils a startling chapter, one that challenges perceptions and reshapes his story in ways few anticipated. George Randolph Scott carved a niche so distinct in American cinema that it remains virtually unmatched to this day. With a career spanning over 3 decades, from 1928 to 1962, Scott appeared in over 100 motion pictures, more than 60 of which were westerns, solidifying his role as the quintessential Western hero. While many actors dabbled in the genre, Scott embodied it. His tall, commanding physique and chiseled, stoic features became synonymous with justice, grit, and silent resolve. His characters were men of few words, often draped in mystery, but driven by unshakable moral codes. The audiences of post-war America found comfort in his portrayals, which echoed the values they longed to hold on to: integrity, courage, and stoicism in the face of chaos. He worked with some of the most celebrated directors of his era, including Bud Bowticher, with whom he formed a remarkable creative partnership that produced a string of critically acclaimed westerns in the 1950s. These films, often minimalist and tightly plotted, were elevated by Scott's nuanced performances, blending strength with vulnerability. Despite the popularity of action-driven plots, it was Scott's subtle emotional depth that left the greatest impact. He became not just a film star, but a symbol, a cultural icon of the rugged American West, immortalized in the sepia-toned landscapes of cinema history. Born on January 23, 1898, in the rolling hills of Orange County, Virginia, Randolph Scott was raised in a prosperous Southern family as the second of 6 children. The Scott family later moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Randolph experienced Southern traditions and a disciplined upbringing. His father, George Grant Scott, worked as an administrative engineer in a textile firm, providing the family with a comfortable lifestyle. This environment allowed Randolph access to various activities, including education and sports, where he truly shined. With a natural talent for athletics, he excelled as a football player and was skilled in baseball, swimming, and golf, which became a lifelong passion. Beyond sports, his upbringing instilled in him discipline and resilience, qualities that proved beneficial during World War I when he joined the U.S. Army and served in an artillery unit in France. This experience gave him insights into weaponry and horseback riding, enhancing his later performances in Western films. After the war, Randolph briefly pursued studies in engineering and business at Georgia Tech and the University of North Carolina. His growing interest in film eventually led him to California, where a fortuitous meeting with industry insiders set the stage for his transition from soldier to actor, ultimately making him a significant figure in American cinema. After returning from service in World War I, Randolph Scott found himself at a crossroads. Initially, he stepped into the textile industry, a choice that aligned with his family's background and connections. His analytical mind and strong discipline led him to take engineering courses at Georgia Tech, and later to study business at the University of North Carolina. Despite these steady prospects, Scott felt a restless yearning for something more fulfilling amid the cultural changes sweeping America. His love for storytelling and his natural charisma ignited a desire to explore the film industry. A pivotal moment came when a family connection introduced him to Howard Hughes, a powerful tycoon known for discovering unique talents. Hughes recognized something special in the tall, soft-spoken Scott and arranged for him to enter the world of Hollywood. Determined not to rely solely on connections, Scott immersed himself in acting at the Pasadena Playhouse, where he studied various playwrights, including Shakespeare and Ibsenator. He diligently worked on his craft, focusing on vocal training, body movement, and expressing complex emotions. This rigorous training provided him with a solid foundation that many of his contemporaries lacked. When Scott made the leap to film, he brought a level of gravitas and discipline from his stage background, which enriched his portrayals, especially in westerns, making them authentic and deeply engaging. His journey from a soldier to a star reflects a passionate pursuit of art and an unyielding commitment to his craft. Early in his career, Randolph Scott's screen appearances were modest, often limited to bit parts that went uncredited. His tall stature and clean-cut features began to catch the eyes of casting directors during the late 1920s and early 1920s. His first significant break occurred with Sky Bride in 1932, where he played a supporting role in an aviation-themed drama. This film allowed him to showcase his ability in physically demanding scenes. Shortly after, he landed the lead in Heritage of the Desert, based on a novel by Zane Grey. This film marked his rise as a leading man and established his lasting connection to the Western genre, a hallmark of his career. However, Scott wasn't one to be narrowly defined. Throughout the 1930s and 1940s, he explored various genres, including comedies, romantic dramas, and even horror films like Murders in the Zoo, where his talent for eerie suspense shone through. His roles in screwball comedies highlighted his charm and comedic timing, while wartime dramas showcased his emotional depth. Scott's uniqueness lay in his ability to carry a film with subtlety, relying on silence and understated strength rather than grand gestures or elaborate dialogue. This grounded approach helped him develop a devoted fan base and pave the way for the superstardom that awaited him. As the 1930s shifted into the 1940s, Randolph Scott emerged as a key player in Hollywood's studio system, forging strong ties with major studios like Paramount Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, and RKO Radio Pictures. His clean-cut, all-American appearance and professional demeanor made him a favorite among studio executives. Throughout this era, Scott starred in prominent films alongside some of the biggest stars of the time. In Jesse James from 1939, he portrayed a lawman, bringing a sympathetic touch to the complex morals of the Wild West, in contrast to Tyrone Power's outlaw. His role in Virginia City, released in 1940, served as a strong counterbalance to the adventurous spirit of Errol Flynn, enabling him to showcase a commanding presence. One unexpected highlight of his career was in My Favorite Wife, also from 1940, a romantic comedy where he starred alongside Irene Dunne and Cary Grant. This film revealed a playful and witty side of Scott, with notable chemistry with Grant that piqued public interest in their friendship. By the mid-1940s, Scott had not only established himself as a reliable actor, but also as a significant box office draw. Producers recognized his ability to lead a film with efficiency and effectiveness, ensuring that he consistently delivered solid performances even when working with limited resources. His status as a director's actor further solidified his reputation in the industry, making him a sought-after talent for various projects. The true golden era of Randolph Scott's career began in the mid-1950s when he joined forces with producer Harry Joe Brown and director Bud Buttigieg. Together, they created what became known as the Renowned Cycle, a series of 7 westerns made between 1956 and 1960 under the banner of Renowned Pictures. These films, including titles like 7 Men from Now, The Tall T, Ride Lonesome, and Comanche Station, showcased the peak of Scott's on-screen persona as a solitary and honorable man contending with a morally ambiguous world. Unlike typical shoot-'em-up westerns, they told taut, psychological narratives that emphasized character development over mere action. The cinematography often captured rugged desert landscapes, utilizing natural light that enhanced the stark beauty reflective of the characters' inner struggles. Buttigieg's minimalist direction complemented Scott's quiet gravitas, while the scripts, often written by Burt Kennedy, delved into themes of redemption, justice, and isolation. The moral ambiguity present in these films distinguished them from others, portraying Scott's characters not as flawless heroes, but as aging men wrestling with loss and regret. This meditative quality and elegiac tone signaled a transformation within the genre, aligning with the darkening themes that hinted at the Western's declining era. Critics, who had previously dismissed Scott, began to appreciate his work as significant in American cinema. Today, these films are considered masterpieces, and Scott's performances are recognized as the finest of his career. As the early 1960s approached, Randolph Scott found himself reflecting on a legacy built over 3 decades. He had become a stalwart of the Western genre, a symbol of the heroic archetype that defined much of American cinema. His final film, Ride the High Country, directed by Sam Peckinpah, serves as a poignant farewell to both Scott and the Western itself. In this film, Scott stars alongside Joel McCrea, another legendary figure from Westerns, in a narrative that artfully parallels their own storied careers. The plot revolves around two aging lawmen tasked with escorting a gold shipment through treacherous terrain, capturing the essence of their journey through life and cinema. Scott's character, Gil Westrom, embarks on the journey with morally ambiguous motives, but experiences a profound rediscovery of his integrity, mirroring the decline of the idealized cowboy in an evolving cultural landscape. The film is more than just a Western. It is a thoughtful elegy that examines a dying code of honor. Critics and audiences praise the film's lyrical writing, rich performances, and evocative score, recognizing its depth and artistry. Although it didn't achieve commercial success at its release, it has since been celebrated as a classic, paving the way for a new style of Westerns. After the film, Scott chose to retire gracefully at the age of 64, rejecting the typical trappings of Hollywood, like scandal or decline. His departure marked a significant moment, closing the chapter on a remarkable career characterized by integrity and strength, signifying the end of an unforgettable era in American filmmaking, the last ride of a true Western hero. Away from the spotlight, Randolph Scott lived a life defined by discretion, loyalty, and quiet discipline. Though his screen persona often suggested the solitary cowboy, his personal life was more complex. In 1936, he married Marion DuPont, a wealthy heiress from the prominent DuPont family. The union, however, was short-lived and marred by irreconcilable differences. While DuPont was deeply invested in equestrian sports and high society, Scott preferred a quieter, more grounded existence. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1939, and Scott largely avoided discussing it publicly. Years later, in 1944, he married Patricia Stillman, an actress and model who brought a sense of warmth and stability into his life. The couple remained together for over 4 decades until Scott's death in 1987. They adopted 2 children, Christopher and Sandra, and lived primarily in Beverly Hills and later in North Carolina, where Scott found peace in golf, charity work, and family life. He was a devout Christian and maintained strong Southern values, emphasizing modesty, hard work, and self-reliance. Despite his fame, Scott never craved the limelight. He was known among peers for his gentlemanly behavior, punctuality on set, and his tendency to avoid Hollywood's fast-living lifestyle. His friendships, however, were genuine and long-lasting. Among his closest companions were stars like Fred Astaire, Joel McCrea, and Cary Grant, with whom he shared both professional admiration and personal trust. These relationships reflected a side of Scott rarely seen by the public, a man who valued intimacy, loyalty, and character far more than fame or acclaim. Among the most fascinating aspects of Randolph Scott's personal life was his deep friendship with fellow actor Cary Grant. They met in the early 1930s, and soon after, they began living together in a beachfront home in Santa Monica, known as Bachelor Hall. Their living arrangement, which lasted several years, piqued public interest and led to much speculation, especially at a time when Hollywood stars maintained a carefully curated public persona. The images of Scott and Grant enjoying life together, whether sunbathing in swimsuits or preparing meals, presented an unusually close depiction of male companionship, which was quite rare given the strict norms of masculinity during that era. While both men were known to date women publicly, including actresses like Sally Blaine for Scott and various leading ladies for Grant, rumors of a deeper connection between them lingered. Hollywood insiders and biographers have offered different interpretations of their bond. Some suggest it was a romantic relationship shrouded in secrecy due to the intense stigma of being labeled gay, while others assert that their friendship was one of powerful emotional support, built on shared experiences in a tumultuous industry. Regardless of its true nature, their relationship could not be easily defined or categorized. Both men chose to maintain their privacy, neither confirming nor denying the whispers surrounding their connection. Nonetheless, it is clear that Scott and Grant shared a meaningful companionship that significantly impacted their lives and contributed to the whispered stories of old Hollywood. In the carefully constructed world of early Hollywood, the unconventional living arrangement of Randolph Scott and Cary Grant created an aura of boldness that sparked endless speculation. Their partnership never experienced a public acknowledgement during their lives, nor did they address the swirling rumors. This enigmatic bond became a source of intrigue among columnists, biographers, and historians, each offering theories about the depth of their connection. Some believed it was a genuine romance, discreetly nurtured in an industry that frowned upon relationships outside conventional norms. Others proposed that their friendship reflected a profound platonic bond that defied the typical male relationships of that era. Many men returning from wartime experiences forged intense friendships, often devoid of sexual undertones, showcasing emotional intimacy instead. Gossip thrived on anecdotes from anonymous sources, and friends who provided detailed insights into their daily lives, sharing meals, designing homes, and traveling together. Their connection was vividly drawn through stories of tenderness shared between them, while skeptics dismissed these tales as mere fantasies. This ongoing speculation highlights the culture of silence that dominated early Hollywood, where stars maintained dual existences. Randolph Scott and Cary Grant's relationship, whether romantic or platonic, emphasizes the complex nature of identity during a period when the truth often lay hidden beneath enforced imagery and societal constraints. The Hollywood of the 1930s through the 1950s functioned as more than a film industry. It operated as a tightly controlled image-making machine. Major studios like Paramount, Warner Brothers, and 20th Century Fox wielded enormous power over their actors, shaping not just their performances but their personal lives. These studios enforced strict guidelines on how stars should dress, speak, socialize, and even whom they should date or marry. Under this scrutiny, any hint of nonconformity, especially regarding sexual orientation, posed a serious threat. For renowned actors Randolph Scott and Cary Grant, speculation about their sexual orientation could jeopardize their careers and the financial health of the studio. In response, studios enacted extensive public relations strategies, including orchestrated dates with glamorous actresses and staged photo shoots to project an image of the ideal heterosexual bachelor. Gossip columns were monitored closely, and some journalists were bribed to suppress damaging stories. Despite these efforts, rumors about the two men continued to circulate. Witnesses claimed to have seen them in close, intimate moments, and blurry photos circulated among insiders, showcasing their easy camaraderie at home. Fans and journalists often danced around the topic, some embracing the playful narrative of Bachelor Hall. The studios, however, maintained a relentless push to polish their leading men's masculine images, erasing anything that could challenge traditional notions of manhood. This culture of fear extended beyond Scott and Grant. Many actors lived with the looming dread of blacklisting, where mere rumors could lead to an abrupt end to their careers. For Scott and Grant, the pressure was immense. Their need to uphold public facades mirrored the era's deep-rooted prejudices, and ultimately highlighted the tragedy of emotional repression faced by countless stars during this period. Emotional bonds can shape lives in ways both seen and unseen. For Randolph Scott and Cary Grant, their connection stood out among Hollywood's bright lights and swirling rumors. Friends throughout their careers, they found solace in each other's company. Their relationship, whether romantic or platonic, was a source of lasting strength for both men. In their later years, the mention of personal matters often led Grant to visibly flinch, showcasing a vulnerability that came from years of living under the watchful eye of the public and the press. He felt betrayed by those who twisted his story for profit, transforming deep sentiments into mere fodder for gossip. Yet, despite this hurt, he maintained a calm demeanor, choosing restraint over outrage, indicating the depth of his feelings for Scott. There were moments that revealed their closeness, like when they dined together privately or shared quiet gestures, such as holding hands under the table at social gatherings, moments unseen by the world. As time passed, both men weathered the loss of friends and colleagues and followed different life paths, with Grant marrying multiple times and welcoming a daughter, while Scott remained committed to Patricia Stillman, embracing a more peaceful, less public life. Despite the years apart and the choices they made, the mark of their early companionship lingered, a reminder of a bond that was profound and unbreakable. It resonated through the various stages of their lives, safeguarded in familiarity, and exhibited through the love and respect that defined their shared journey. In 1986, the world saw the loss of Cary Grant, a shock to many fans, and especially painful for Randolph Scott, who had known him since the 1930s. Scott felt the weight of this loss deeply, retreating into the privacy he treasured. Just a few months later, on March 2, 1987, Scott passed away in Beverly Hills at the age of 89. His death was private and without scandal, reflecting his character, marked by intention, dignity, and grace. For those who admired him, his passing was not just the end of a Hollywood legend, but also the fading of a cinematic ideal. Scott represented the strong, silent Western hero, a role that shaped an entire genre. His wife, Patricia Stillman Scott, remained in their shared home until she passed away in 2004. The warmth of their home, filled with decades of memories, came to an end in 2008 when it was demolished. Although physical remnants of his life vanished, Scott's legacy continued. The UCLA Film and Television Archive created a special collection to honor his work, ensuring that film reels, production stills, and personal memorabilia would be preserved for future generations. Randolph Scott was remembered as a man of honor both on screen and in life. Even in his last years, that honor shone through, etched in the films he left behind, and the quiet admiration he inspired among those who knew him and admired his work. Long after his passing, Randolph Scott continued to cast a long shadow over American pop culture. Although remembered most vividly for his role in westerns, his impact stretched far beyond dusty saloons and desert shootouts. His upright posture, weathered handsomeness, and calm demeanor became archetypal, so much so that, according to persistent rumor, his likeness helped inspire the Oakland Raiders' iconic helmet logo, with its sharp jawline and stoic gaze reflecting Scott's cinematic persona. In music, his legacy was commemorated with nostalgia and affection. The Statler brothers released a popular country song titled "Whatever Happened to Randolph Scott," a wistful reflection on changing values and the loss of true heroes in modern media. The song captured a collective yearning for simpler times, when the lines between right and wrong were clearer, and the man in the white hat rode off into the sunset with dignity. Scott was also referenced in the literary world. Notably, author Thomas Pynchon, known for weaving pop culture into his complex narratives, alluded to Scott's image as a symbol of moral clarity amidst chaos. Musician Leo Kottke paid tribute with subtle references, further embedding Scott in the broader artistic imagination. His influence also lived on in film, where directors like Clint Eastwood and Sam Peckinpah cited him as a key inspiration in shaping the modern Western anti-hero. Flawed, introspective, but deeply principled. In that way, Scott's work became part of the DNA of American cinema, influencing generations of actors and filmmakers. To this day, the name Randolph Scott conjures images of timeless courage, silent strength, and unshakable integrity, a man who walked the line between legend and mystery, and whose legacy is still unfolding in the echoes of dusty trails, flickering reels, and whispered Hollywood lore. Even decades after Randolph Scott's final film appearance, his influence remained strong in various aspects of popular culture, satire, and comedy. His legacy extended beyond the realm of film into the fabric of Americana, where he became a symbol that people could reference both seriously and humorously. An iconic moment from Mel Brooks' 1974 film Blazing Saddles highlights this connection. In it, the mere mention of Randolph Scott's name leads characters to pause, remove their hats, and look solemnly at the sky. This absurd yet heartfelt gesture underscores how Scott became synonymous with ideas of frontier honor and masculine virtue in American culture. Stand-up comedian Rodney Dangerfield also referenced Scott in his acts, using him as a cultural shorthand for heroic qualities in stark contrast to his own down-on-his-luck image. Such comedic nods illustrate how Scott's persona remained a recognizable and cherished reference for audiences across generations. His presence extended into literature as well. Writers like Stephen King and Peter Straub have included subtle nods to Scott in their stories, employing his image to convey themes of strength, moral clarity, and nostalgia. In King's The Dark Tower series, Scott is grouped with classic Western themes, reinforcing his status as more than just a cinematic figure. He became part of the American storytelling tradition. These references, occurring long after Scott's active years in film, highlight the remarkable endurance of his presence in the collective cultural memory. Rather than being merely a figure of the past, his name evokes feelings of lost honor, decency, and quiet strength as society evolves. Away from the spotlight, and behind the stoic image of the cowboy hero, stood a man with firm and unwavering political convictions. Randolph Scott was a lifelong conservative, a proud supporter of the Republican Party, and one of the original members of the Hollywood Republican Committee, a group formed during an era when conservative views were often overshadowed by the more liberal leanings of the entertainment industry. Throughout the 1940s and 1950s, Scott lent his name and presence to a variety of political causes, appearing at rallies and fundraisers for Republican presidential candidates. He supported Thomas E. Dewey in his runs against Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry Truman, and later became a vocal backer of Barry Goldwater, whose brand of conservatism aligned with Scott's values of limited government, traditional morals, and American self-reliance. In the 1960s and 70s, Scott's political engagement continued, culminating in his strong endorsement of Ronald Reagan, both during Reagan's gubernatorial campaigns and his rise to the presidency. Like Reagan, Scott believed deeply in the principles of individualism, patriotism, and strong national defense, values he had not only preached but portrayed in his film roles for decades. Though never bombastic about his views, Scott's politics were consistent and sincere, reflective of his Southern upbringing and belief in personal responsibility. He viewed America as a country shaped by pioneers, strengthened by faith, and guided by enduring values, ideals that were woven into the very fabric of the characters he portrayed. His quiet political work behind the scenes earned him respect within conservative circles, and demonstrated that his sense of honor extended far beyond the screen. For those attending Randolph Scott's funeral, the air was thick with reverence and nostalgia, a moment to celebrate a life marked by both cinematic heroics and personal intricacies. Amidst this gathering, the unexpected guest stirred curiosity and intrigue, adding a new layer to the understanding of Scott's rich life narrative. This presence, previously thought to be distant or even estranged, brought forth memories and stories that illuminated the complexities of Scott beyond his stoic screen persona. It suggested that connections formed in the golden age of Hollywood were deeper than often presumed. The emotions at that gathering blended sorrow with surprise, showcasing the multifaceted relationships Scott had with colleagues, friends, and even rivals. As laughter mingled with tears, it became clear that Scott's legacy was not just in the films he left behind, but also in the relationships that shaped him. The unexpected connection at his farewell revealed how intertwined lives can reignite old narratives, ensuring Scott's story, both simple and complex, would echo through the years in ways no one could have